when you're falling on hard times and you find someone that's willing to help you and you got no one else, dude, sometimes we're all just at the bottom. We all sink to the bottom and find each other that way, I guess.
I mean, we're just like low people on the totem pole. They think we're scum because we don't have houses or anything like that.
If I went into your home, arrested you, kicked you out, said you cannot be here, and then I removed all the walls, what would be left?
Yeah, I see the point.
A huge pile of shit.
A new dimension in sound. This is Love by as the record plays. Love by.
Hi there, folks. I'm Keegan Van Hook, and welcome to Us As We Are. The city of Medford just passed its proposed anti-camping ordinance, which means tent camping within city limits is now against the rules, and camping and sleeping along the Greenway is now completely against the rules, tents or not, during the summer fire season. So, in this episode, on the same day as the city council vote, we went out to talk to the homeless people of Medford about how this ordinance is going to impact their lives.
All right, why don't you please introduce yourself and explain what you're doing out here today?
Yeah, so my name's Emily Mann. I work for the Southern Oregon Coalition for Racial Equity. And starting in October, we started sponsoring this daily feed out at Hawthorne Park. So in collaboration with Rogue Food Unites, we serve about 100 hot meals a day, 7 days a week.
Very nice. And how is it in general? How has it sort of gone?
Yeah, I mean, it goes well. We're constantly, running out of food. We serve a, really diverse group of folks. It's kind of my motto that I don't care if you pull up in a Bentley or push in a shopping cart. If you're hungry, you're going to get food. So, it goes over really well. We've made a lot of friends out here.
Nice. Yeah, how many people do you think you've served with this?
So at least 100 people a day for almost 6 months now. So math, a lot. A lot of folks, yeah.
Well, so we're here to talk today about the new ordinances and rules that Medford is passing regarding where people can camp and sleep. Could you sort of frame up and put some context around what that ordinance is and how these rules are changing?
Yeah, so the proposed changes to the current prohibited camping ordinance putting some pretty severe time, place, and manner restrictions into how people can engage in survival activities, basically. So the biggest change they're going to be banning camping along the Greenway during fire season. So that would be considered under some legislation that's happened in the last few years, a decent time, place, and manner restriction, right? But they take it quite a large step too far by also year-round making it a misdemeanor to pitch a tent within city limits. So that's, I think, the primary part that we're taking issue with. A lot of folks in town rely on their tents for safety, security, protection from severe weather, and taking that away from them is really a violation of their Eighth Amendment right.
All right, Joseph, how about you introduce yourself to start?
All right, well, my name is Joe Camel. That's what everybody knows me as, but Joseph Lewis Gibson is my born name. It's what I put in on every form government ever requires of me. But again, everyone knows me as Joe Camel.
Very nice. And so we're out here talking to people about the new ordinance and the rule changes that Medford is going to make regarding camping and sleeping in public. Could you first maybe add some context to what that ordinance is, what it says, what kind of rules it's going to make?
Okay, so the Medford's new prohibited camping ordinance is to change and modify the old prohibited camping ordinance. The reasoning and validation that Medford is giving for doing so is that if they don't, they'll face lawsuit repercussions due to the Boise Ninth Circuit District Court decision and the Grants Pass decision. Which is interesting because their first proposal change was 6 months in jail, $1,000 fine for the use of a tent within the city limits of Medford. 30 days in jail and a $1,000 fine for any person that enabled, managed, or helped set up a campsite. So they weren't just going after homeless people, they were also targeting anybody that helped us and advocated for us in a direct and physical manner. That quickly got changed. That actually went around for a couple of months. That's how it was. The person that proposed the bill had plenty of opportunity to say, no, that's not the way it is, whatnot. Never once did. They changed everything and made it so that it was 30 days in jail, $500 fine. They had two different plans that they were going to be considering. The first one was much harsher. It still included putting activists in jail. It still included fining them. It included car camping as part of the prohibited camping thing. And it did not have an option for the city to set up a campsite. And then the other option was the better one, which was that you were able to set, it gave the city the ability and means to set up a campsite. It removed the car camping from it and removed the activists from being hit. That's the one that got approved in their last session. So today, supposedly, there's going to be a vote on whether or not to prove that lowest thing that's been happening. And that's all because we've been very actively fighting this from the get-go. The moment that we heard that this was even an idea, a possibility, we've been mobilizing and getting people together.
All right, sir, why don't you please introduce yourself and explain what brings you out here today and how you're related to the Hawthorne Park feeding effort.
My name's Roger May, and a few weeks back, I really was just looking to different ways to be of service to the community, and across my computer came the petition to ban camping in the park. And it just struck me as are you kidding me? To try to force people, off of the Greenway when you have nowhere for them to go, everything's full. It just struck me as just disingenuous. And so I just happened to come down and I noticed that, they were helping feed people down here. So I came to kind of join and be of, service and help rather than be part of the problem.
And what about the new rule changes here in Medford do you think is disingenuous? What do you not like about it?
Well, for example, I heard our chief of police the other day saying that, the idea behind the impetus of this is to force people into treatment. I used to be a vocational rehabilitation counselor for the VA for over a decade, and so I have a lot of experience with people with substance abuse issues, mental health issues, or dual diagnosis, both. And I know for a fact, just from being out here among people, that, there's a problem with addiction, but the bigger problem is the mental health issues that are causing those substance abuse issues. And there's no plan really to deal with that except to say we're going to force people into services that don't exist. Everything is full. Even when we try to place somebody into some kind of a shelter, even using the livability team of the police, they're full. So you're putting the cart before the horse. And not only that, I also see a lot of people that don't have either mental health or substance abuse issues, but that are living on Social Security disability of $900 a month. And when the hotels locally are charging $300 a week in order to keep a roof over your head, well, I guess you can roof yourself for 3 weeks out of the month if you don't eat, don't wash, or whatever. So it's just an untenable situation with no solution in place.
All right, to start, how about you introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Logan Vanderkoy. I have been homeless in Medford for a couple months now. So, let's say 3 months now. Kind of lose track. I'm from Arizona originally, but I got here and I'm just trying to start a life here, and it gets very hard with all the blocks and borders put in the way of homeless people from normal society already, and doing this would make it that much harder for anyone to even have a chance at actually doing something with themselves rather than just being homeless and being homeless.
Yeah, so could you provide context about what this ordinance is? In your understanding, what is it doing? What kind of rules does it put on you, and how is it going to affect your life?
From my understanding, I believe it says on the top of it, no camping, no sleeping, no loitering. I don't know exactly the premise of all of it, but how are you going to put a ban on sleeping, first of all? Every human needs to do that. Just because we're homeless doesn't mean we don't need to sleep. And loitering, really when you make an entire city considered loitering, how is how are we supposed to obey that? Like, and the camping part, really, have you ever actually had to deal with a winter night here in the rain? Not really pleasant. Having a tent can be the only thing to save you from it.
All right, so we're down here near the Bear Creek Greenway, right along Bear Creek, and we came upon this individual. So great to meet you. Why don't you please introduce yourselves for us?
My name's John.
John?
Yeah.
And you're a homeless person living down here?
I am, yes. I am. Well, what else do you guys need to know?
Well, we want to know what your opinion on Medford's new proposed anti-camping ordinance is.
I think it sucks. You know, it's not fair to anybody, but I do understand the reasons. But, you know, if they would supply more places for us to put garbages and our trash or bathrooms, and it would be a lot easier. But instead, they locked the bathrooms up, and up here at the park, and they've been locked all year round. Like, you know, that's what I don't think it's fair, but I understand why. So
yeah, that is a fair bit of garbage. Did your understanding, what do these new rules mean, and how are they going to impact you in your life?
Well, it means that we can't camp here anymore, or that we can't set up tents from May to certain times, and that we would go to jail if we camp. And I don't think sleeping or living should be against the law. So.
Well, if you can't camp here, where there are a lot of people camping here,
right,
where are all these people going to go and camp?
I have no clue, no idea. I mean, I have no idea. There's the tent city over there, which is they've got all these weird rules and stipulations over there. They lock you in like it's a prison at night. If you're not there at a certain time of night, then you can't come in at all. That's not very fair, and that's not very good, you know. But they can have tents and everything over there, but they can't have tents like maybe 200, 300 yards away from them. That's not fair. So I guess it's what the city wants to do, and you know, with what the people that help us, like Cop Watch and stuff like that help us. I mean, it's up to them. I mean, we're just like low people on the totem pole. They think we're scum because we don't have houses or anything like that. So, I mean, I don't have a house for a reason, and it's all because of my criminal background history and stuff like that. But I've tried to get housing myself, and it hasn't worked out since I've been out of prison and stuff. So, you know, it is what it is, you know.
Do you have like a personal plan for if the ordinance passes?
To leave, I guess. And that's what they want us to do, I guess, is leave.
And where will you go?
I have no clue. No idea. So.
Well, anything else you want to add to this interview?
No, that's about it.
Okay, well, thank you for talking to me today.
Okay, thank you.
And good luck.
Yep, you too.
So you don't want to share your name or face, and that's okay, but why don't you just more generally introduce yourself and explain your situation down here?
Okay, well, there's a hard times came into my life, no fault of my own. Unfortunately, you know, I had nowhere to go. I'm not a bad guy. I work since I was 16, pay my taxes, take care of my family, do everything I need to do. And you know, just some misunderstandings and a couple of bad people fall into your life that you try to help, and all of a sudden everything's gone. Everything. It's so fragile. You know, we you know, there's people down here that aren't destroying stuff. There's people out here. There's some good men out here. You know, there's brotherhood. People love each other. But it's not a freaking commune. It's not a take everything kind of deal. You know, it is sometimes feels a little bit Wild West, but you know, it's a bunch of good-hearted, you know, patriot Americans, man, that believe in this country and paying taxes and what they should go for. You know, instead of for the rich to make more money, maybe, you know, help out the working man. Instead, you know, we don't want to abuse anything. You know, most of us don't want to abuse anything. We're out here cleaning up after other people, after the slobs, and and doing our thing. We're not bad people. We help other people out when they come by and they're in need. No questions asked. We're not all doing drugs. We're not all down here shooting people or whatever else is going through the damn news. It's just all people falling on hard times, and man, when you're falling on hard times and you find someone that's willing to help you, and you got no one else, dude. Sometimes we're all just at the bottom. We all sink to the bottom and find each other that way, I guess. So, but thanks to some good people out here, I'm on my way back up. So, anyways, there's no reason to kick all these poor people out of here. Maybe some rules or set aside some ground, but quit. Being poor is expensive, man, and being punished for it's rough, it's terrible, So, a couple of mistakes, child support, a charge here, a charge there. You lose your job, and all of a sudden you lose your car, and it all just falls apart. So, it's fragile these days. So, yeah, no more silly politicians come down and see us firsthand and shake our hand and see how we're doing.
Why don't you guys please introduce yourselves and explain sort of your involvement in the homeless issues here in the Rogue Valley?
Okay, my name's Maria Rainbow Jurlaga. They call me Mama Bear. We are building a better future. That's the name of our organization. What we do is we feed 5 days a week, and we supply the unhoused with different things that they need. And we try to build more of a community. We have gotten them to start cleaning up, but as people should know, it takes building a good solid foundation of a relationship with them first, before you can get them to understand why it's so important to take care of Mother Earth and to clean up down here.
So could you tell me a little bit about what kind of activities or efforts you guys have been doing?
Okay, what we have did on what most people call the first day of spring to a lot of Native Americans is the New Year. So we did a zero waste box with treats with a zero waste survival cup. We do different stuff like that, and what we are starting to do, what we've been doing the last couple months, for quite a few months, is having them clean up and supplying the trash bags, and we're going to start having cleanup days, and this Sunday will be one of them, and all through April we are not releasing the location because there's people that are against what we do for the unhoused, so we won't release that information, but we are working on getting it cleaned up.
And so why do you think the city wants to change these rules?
I think the city is motivated to push people out of the county. They see the unhoused community as being a burden. And our city also kind of values the criminal justice system in a really unique way. So I think it was a really pointed decision for their primary tactic to be incarceration. Yeah.
And what kind of effect on the homeless population do you think changing the rules in this way is going to have?
So we did an independent survey of 40 unhoused folks right now, and we saw a lot of folks responding that it would impact their, emotional and mental health, their physical safety, their sense of community, and their ability to access jobs and social services. Having a central location where you feel safe leaving your belongings is super valuable for somebody who is trying to access all these different services and is having to walk to a lot of those places. It takes a lot of time and a lot of effort. And if you take away that kind of central location and folks are having to load up their belongings every single day and move every 24 hours, it really makes it impossible to access any sort of reliable employment or social service.
So how is this going to affect the homeless population?
As it currently sits, no one really knows exactly how. So talking with other homeless people, I'm going to be a homeless person for a moment. Talking with other homeless people, this is how it is. I'm in Medford. I have the option of using a tent and going 30 days in jail, or I can do a really low-level fucking trespassing and get maybe 7 days in jail. So as a person, I'm going to make the choice of the least negative effect to me on those things that I must do in order to have life. Right? So that's the option for some people, is to do a less criminal thing rather than doing the tent on a public space. Because of how the wording of the ordinance is, it's not within the city limits, it's in the public space of the city limits. So private property becomes a different story. Right? Another option is leaving Medford. And up here in Medford, I've actually been walking around and noticing quite a few Ashlanders that are up here because of how harsh Ashland became towards homeless people. So that's another option for homeless people, is to leave the area that they have connections, that they already have their things worked out, and that they're trying to get to something better. Remove them from that and make them go somewhere new where they have nothing. Or make them do a lesser criminal thing. Or they just have to adamantly say, no, I have to take care of myself, and if you must throw me in jail, then I guess that's what's going to happen.
So that all being said, what do you think the results of passing the ordinance would be?
I think the result is going to be that you're going to be criminalizing just tragedy. And it seems to be that the idea that Grants Pass is kind of doing the same thing already and pushing people this way. And it seems like rather than address the issue, the city wants to push it further down the road, not realizing that this is a perfect opportunity to use this as a fire drill to try and alleviate the problems from a multifaceted approach. And that way you may actually be halfway prepared when the big earthquake everyone's expecting, whatever big disaster comes. You can actually find yourself prepared if you use this opportunity now, or reap the karmic whirlwind if you don't.
Could you tell us a little bit about what your experience actually living as a homeless individual here in Medford has been like prior to this ordinance?
Okay, prior to this ordinance, well, it hasn't been very extensive. It hasn't been very long. I was homeless in the past, and when I was younger, almost by choice, and I did some traveling, and that was kind of cool, spirit finding. But here, this is not by choice. This is a hard place to be when you're homeless, on the streets, walking around. I mean, there's people just they punk you. There's as the kids say these days, people just punk you, man. They trick you. They say they're gonna help you. Oh, come on, get in the car. Your feet must hurt so bad, and then they wait till your guard is down and they take all your stuff or whatever's valuable. I mean, they see a poor person, someone that's in trouble, and they see him as they look at him predatorily, and it's horrible. That's not human. That's off on kind of a tangent, but yeah, the homeless problem is multifaceted, and we need multifaceted solutions.
So now with this ordinance, if it passes, they're going to vote on it tonight. If it passes and they ban tent camping around here and in other areas around town, and can arrest you and fine you for that, how is that going to logistically affect your life? What things are you going to have to change about how you behave?
Well, transportation is an issue. So if I have to go out of town to live, help is just that much further away. And man, it's already pretty grim, you know what I mean? So, I mean, I have health problems with my legs and my feet. So traveling is an issue, Keeping up on a bike, if you're riding that bike, 5 or 6 hours a day in and out of town, upkeep on a bike. When you're homeless, jobless, it's a big job.
Well, I want to thank you for talking to me. Is there anything else that you want to add to the end of this interview to kind of tie it off?
So if this is going to go out before tonight, we are hosting a rally at City Hall. They're going to be voting on this ordinance tonight. It's one of the higher up things on the agenda right now. So we are hosting a rally/vigil starting at 5 o'clock to honor folks that have been lost on the streets in Medford, and really send a message to City Council that their constituents don't support this.
All right, Emily, thank you for talking to me.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks.
Very good. Well, Joseph, is there anything else you want to add to end this interview?
There's been a lot of activist homeless cleanup. There's been a lot of people not finalizing their campsite, but there is a place where people have their living, and they planted flowers as a border around their stuff. right? These are people trying to make stability from which to step into better and better lifestyle. And here in Medford, we can go up and down the Greenway and we can clearly document when they come in and do their cleans, their sweeps, they are not cleaning. What they are doing is destroying campsites, removing anything that could be useful to a person to maintaining life, and then leaving the rubbish, leaving the trash.
So you'd actually say that the sort of the trash and debris and just like gross stuff that often gets associated with homeless people isn't actually as much the responsibility of homeless people, but is more on the police's response to the homeless?
Right. If I went into your home, arrested you, kicked you out, said you cannot be here, and then I removed all the walls, what would be left?
Yeah, I see the point.
A huge fucking pile of shit. Now do this 3-4 times in a row. Like, this literally is the last place in Medford that people can go and be and not be right in someone's freaking yard. So there are literally 3-4 campsites I've seen where every sweep that comes through, that's all they're doing is removing the tent and the useful material, leaving all the trash, and the trash is just piling up. And no, that is the law enforcement and the city of Medford that is flat out making that a thing.
I guess actually the last question I want to ask you is, what could Medford and other cities around here do differently? Like, how could the homeless situation be improved through their action?
So targeting homelessness is the first thing that absolutely has to go. Second of all, any person trying to maintain or form stability needs to be given help and enablement in doing so. If you don't have a better option for them, then that is the best option. So those are the first two groundbreaking things that must happen. Stop criminalizing us, and when you see anyone trying, help them out. That's it.
Great. Well, Joseph, thank you so much for talking to me today.
Have a good day.
So, that evening at City Hall, with a large protest in opposition gathered around outside, the City Council voted 6-2 to adopt the ordinance. That being said, this story is nowhere near over. A local lawyer, Justin Rosas, has declared that he will be suing the city of Medford on behalf of the local homeless population. And, of course, with the ordinance having passed, the homeless population itself is soon to be feeling the effects, whatever they might be. For now, though, that's going to do it for this episode of Us As We Are. Before I go, I do, of course, want to mention that we have a Patreon page, so if you like what we do here and want to support it, we would really appreciate it. Our Patreon supporters get access to the Us As We Cast recap podcast, where myself and Tripp and Lewis, the crew of this show, discuss the events we document here, but from our perspective. Additionally, we're uploading many other forms of bonus material to Patreon, so if you're curious about any of that, that would be the place to find it, and again, we would really appreciate your support. Additionally, we're once again doing our short interstitial spots for Southern Oregon PBS, so if you want to know more about that, information on the bottom of the screen and in the description down below. With that, I've been Keegan Van Hook. This is Us As We Are, and we'll see you in the next one.
Are there more? 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 Still my work is...
And a special thanks to our Patreon major supporters, Bethany McKenzie, Daniel Van Hook, Adam, and Amy E. Van Hook.